Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of the Bush League Huddle Fantasy Football Podcast. We are here. We made it. So many episodes, so many weeks, so many analysis and advanced analytics and number crunching and deciding who is in a better position to succeed over other guys because of X and Y and Z. And it doesn't matter. Super Bowl week is here. Radio Road is happening right now. And
we are
we're
there.
sort of a part of it a little bit. We're there, but we're not there, but we are there. We're in San Francisco, basically, if you think about it. Like I'm just changing my IP address the way people think I am there. But we're part of this and we're doing it, and you're here with us, and it's a fun ride. And this is what we're gonna do this week. We're previewing, oh my God, the Super Bowl and props. Jeez, it's like, every year we get to this point, and every year I feel like, wow, we made it, and then it's over, and then we start all over again. It's just wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. But that's part of the episode. That's not the whole episode, so don't get too excited. But you're going to get excited because we got another coaching update for you guys. We got some way too early tight end ranks because we've been going with that theme so far just to give you guys a little bit of satiation when it comes to what's going on, what's in our heads right now with the rankings and all that stuff. So that's the fun stuff. But before
Did you learn satiation today?
No, satiation is it's very important. It's very important.
Can you spell it?
Meal prep. S-A-T
Not a chance.
Satiation. So guys, before we jump into this,
The word of the day, toilet paper over there.
This podcast. Word of the day, toilet paper. Next, stop talking about your breath. Please follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. I'm Fab. That's Raj. That's Knack over there. Guys, doesn't matter what time of the year it is. We're always on this podcast. We're having a ball right now. You know what I'm saying? We're going to preview the Super Bowl. We got some quick coaching updates for you. We got some way too early tight end ranks. And we thank you very much for being along with us throughout this entire process. We're football fans before we're fantasy football fans, and it's always a fun and good time. So with that being said, let's get the show on the road. I think we're going to jump right into some of the new coaching hires that have happened recently in the last week. We got some very big names. So we got Kubiak that went. It looks like it's going to be going to the Las Vegas Raiders. Mike LaFleur to the Cardinals. Matt Nagy to the Giants as the offensive coordinator, and Sean Mannion, Packers QB coach, to the Eagles as their offensive coordinator. So just quickly run down through a few of them over here that I got. So Kubiak, Clint Kubiak, the son of Gary Kubiak, who is also the son of Harbaugh. He's a Harbaugh disciple, in case anybody was wondering about that. He's now going to be the new Las Vegas Raiders head coach. Very offensive minded head coach. He's always occupied head coaching roles throughout his coaching tenure. Excuse me. It's going to be very important, I think, for a development from Fernando Mendoza, assuming that they pick him first, which I don't see why not. The DC hire, I think, is going to be very, very important, since I don't know what amount of influence Kubiak is going to have on that defense, on the defensive play calling. Probably not a whole lot, but I think it's going to be very interesting to look towards in the future. But I mean, it's not official yet because Clint Kubiak is playing in the Super Bowl as the offensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks, right? So it's highly speculated and rumored. So, and Schefter tweeted out what's happening. Mike LaFleur, younger brother to Matt LaFleur, he's taking his talents to the desert as the new head coach of the Arizona Cardinals. He's also only 38 years old, so just like Kubiak. I actually like this hire. Any coach that spent time under Sean McVay gets a bump in my books, and he was the OC there for 3 years with the LA Rams. And we saw what we did with that offense from a fantasy perspective. I am excited. Well, excited. I'm optimistic, I want to say. There is obviously some question marks in that offense from a quarterback perspective. We all know that. Kyler Murray, I don't think he's long for that quarterback spot in that team anymore.
You think this changes
we have
things?
a Brissett.
You think
I have no idea.
this
Honestly,
changes
I don't know.
things?
I don't know.
I
I don't know.
I listened to the press conference, and I think it's just too early. I don't think they know yet, and it's too early because draft hasn't happened yet, free agency hasn't happened yet. So my only thing with
he's
LaFleur
probably
is that
assessing every. Go ahead.
He didn't really call plays with the Rams. I mean, because McVay is the play caller, so he probably had an impact on game planning and the install of offensive plays. The last time he was a play caller was with the Jets, It was the brutal fiasco of Zach Wilson, Joe Flacco, and Mike White. So I mean, I'm not going to ding him on that, but it'll be interesting to see. It sounds like he will call plays.
He said that, yeah.
Yeah, I personally think they had went with a first-time head coach previously before LaFleur with Jonathan Gannon, and that was an absolute disaster. I thought for that role and for that situation, they should have gone with a veteran head coach.
I think I
I don't disagree.
Yeah.
Go
ahead,
I don't disagree. I thought it was I would have preferred them to have a more to have a head coach that has that tenure, that has that experience behind him. Because now you wonder too, like if he poo-poos the bed, Mike LaFleur, like they're just hitting the reset button all over again. If it doesn't work with Kyler, if it doesn't work with Jacoby Brissett, it's like they're just wasting time, right?
Brutal.
Yeah.
But
it is interesting.
Brissett is like a bridge, right?
Yeah.
You know, like you're not going into this. I don't think he's going into this thinking that Brissett is the future here in Arizona. Even if he does end up starting next year, they got to figure out what they do with the Kyler Murray situation. He has, I guess, look, he's been in the division, so he does see him a couple times a year when he's not injured. But I don't know. I think that's one thing to kind of take from that. Maybe that's his chance to kind of turn it around in Arizona. But yeah, they definitely got to figure out the QB position.
Yeah, I'm sure it's gonna be priority number one for them. But at the same time, though, you kind of have to be somewhat excited if you're a Cardinals fan, just from the offense that he's coming from. And you look at all of the disciples that Sean McVay have had. They're good coaches, you know. So you are slightly optimistic, and we're going to see how the offensive pieces in that offense for the Cardinals shape up next year. They have some decent offensive pieces. I mean, it's going to be something to see. The Giants finally get their consolidation prize. It looks like in Matt Nagy as their offensive coordinator. The Todd Monken sweepstakes are over, and now we go for Matt Nagy. Listen, he's a former coach of the year with the Bears, former Kansas City Chiefs offensive coordinator, passing game coordinator, all that stuff. West Coast offense thrives with QBs who can create outside of structure, like we saw with Justin Fields, like we saw with Patrick Mahomes, and now we're going to see with, hopefully, Jackson Dart. I believe this can definitely lead to fantasy success, fantasy football success. Real life football, I don't know. And that's only because Matt Nagy, I think, gets a little bit of a bad rap. At the same time, I trust in John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh, when it comes to choosing his coordinators, he wants guys, especially the offensive coordinators, he wants guys that have head coaching experience, have had past head coaching experience. So this fits the bill. I know with Kansas City, Nagy didn't renew or didn't ask for a new contract with the Chiefs. He wanted to test the waters to see if he can get a head coaching position. And I guess it didn't work out. And I guess he just landed with as an offensive coordinator with the Giants. Honestly, I was reading online and people are pretty much split. They're super excited because they think this could be amazing for Dart. At the same time, they don't really know like what you're going to get out of Nagy. And I was doing some research myself too. Matt Nagy, since 2018, the lowest that his offense has never ranked lower than 11th EPA per play. So it is an efficient offense, whether he's a head coach or the offensive coordinator. But again, it's
I'm so curious to hear what Raj has to say.
So yeah,
I'm lukewarm. I'm lukewarm.
No,
I want to be that clear.
I'm happy Fab is lukewarm because I thought he was going to be more giddy than this. So I'm lukewarm as a win.
That's pretty giddy. That's pretty giddy.
No, but so I think the issue
I'm the eternal optimist. You know this.
The issue with Nagy is it's hard to kind of decipher what his impact was versus what Reed's impact was, because again, same thing with LaFleur. Reed was the primary play caller, and is Nagy involved with just go ahead, Fab.
So I'm sorry to interrupt you. I actually looked into this. There was, I think, 5 games with the Chiefs.
Okay, I'm going to continue my point.
He was calling those games.
I'm going to continue my
point. He went 4-1. He went 4-1 and averaged 40 points a game.
You interrupted me for... No, I'm joking. No, but like in the whole... I think you know what I mean. In the grand scheme of things, it's hard to understand that value. And the takeaway I had from this was that we all know that Nagy replaced... Nagy was at KC, then he went to Chicago. Eric Bieniemy replaced him as OC, which he had the same OC role where he was not a play caller. Now Bieniemy came back 2 weeks ago to KC, and to a man, what the KC players said, especially Travis Kelce, was they were so happy that Bieniemy was back because the accountability was there and the kind of intensity was back in the practice. Hey, you're gonna talk to me about 5 games. I'll talk to you about the intensity that was gone. That has an impact.
I agree with you. I agree.
And I like when you go through kind of the best way to evaluate Nagy was that one really good year they had in Chicago where the offense was kind of middle of the pack. They were 9th in points per game, 11th in rush yard offense, 21st in passing yards, and middle of the pack in passing yards per attempt. So look, it was a young Bears team. It had Trubisky, they had Jordan Howard, Tariq Cohen, Allen Robinson. So it's a little bit incomplete, but what we do know is the offenses kind of fizzled out for him the following years with the Bears. So he's going to have to adapt. He's going to have to adapt to his players. I think he's going to have to not neuter Jackson Dart to the point where it's such a West Coast offense that it's just, hey, 1, 2, 3, throw this guy. Like let him be a playmaker, but also hone in a little bit of his randomness and the chaos that comes with Dart.
I don't disagree with anything you're saying. I just think there's a lot of polarizing opinions. I think some people either like him or they hate him. Like Chase Daniel was a quarterback for the 2018 roster you're talking about with Mitch Trubisky, and he's super happy that Matt Nagy is the OC for Jackson Dart. And Chase Daniel, he typically breaks down a lot of quarterbacking stuff online and all that. Like okay, like that's great. And then, so I don't know. Like I'm very lukewarm. And at the end of the day, I just trust Harbaugh. That's why I feel like from a fantasy perspective, we can get behind this. I think this is going to be good for Jackson Dart. From a real football perspective, I don't know yet.
I don't know if he can develop Jackson Dart into what he is going or what his potential is. That is what worries me, right? Yes, you had that good year with Trubisky, but where's Trubisky now? Trubisky's a backup. Was he there with Fields? I believe he was still there with Fields 1 year, right? Where's Fields right now? Like there's no tree of him developing that QB when he has, and those guys were top picks, right? We're talking about the 2nd overall pick in Trubisky. We're talking about top 10 in Fields. Yeah. So he had those high octane and high draft picks. Now you have a Jackson Dart, another 1st round pick that he's going to get to develop. And to me personally, it just wasn't the hire I was looking for. I would have preferred a Cliff Kingsbury, if I'm being honest. Who's still out there? Which I know there was rumors of him going there. So I just don't see the fit. Again, this is just an opinion based, and from what he's done in the past, could it work out? Sure, it definitely could. It's just that to me, I just find it a weird hire in the current situation with other coaches still out there.
Like Fab has been saying, and I was listening to WFAN radio, Select the Radio in New York with Tiki Barber. I forgot the host. Fab, I remember I sent you the link today, and they said the same thing.
Yeah. I saw it.
Trust Harbaugh. Trust Harbaugh, which that is what I'm gonna do. Which Fab has been preaching, but I agree. There's a little bit of concern on that one.
Yeah, more question marks than we would like to hope. I mean, when I saw it, I was like, no. And then I'm like, so I haven't been like, I was like that when they hired the defensive coordinator. So maybe this team is going to be predicated on defense. Who knows? Another team that might be predicated on defense also finally got their offensive coordinator is the Philadelphia Eagles, Sean Mannion. If you're wondering who that is, he's the former Packers QB coach who gets the extremely coveted OC job for the Eagles, which seems like he might be the 7th or 8th choice. I think this is Hurts's 5th or 6th offensive coordinator since he's been QB with the Eagles. So I don't think there's very much that's known about Manning. He's really only been in the coaching circles for 2 years. The guy was on the practice squad as a QB back in 2023. I think for the Seattle Seahawks. So apparently he's a super bright mind. Nick Foles can't speak any higher about this guy as far as intelligence is concerned, but we don't have much to say about it. So I guess we're just going to see what's it going to be for next year. I mean, off the rip, I think you can expect much of the same for the Eagles. They should go back to being a run first offense, limiting Hurts' passing upside, but again, we'll see.
The only nugget I noticed is the Packers, because he was QB coach with the Packers. They were second in offensive pass explosive plays in the league, and the Eagles last year were last. So hopefully they could add more explosive plays with obviously AJ Brown and Devonta Smith.
Yep, no, for sure. So I guess out of all, like the majority of the coaching hires, I want to say are almost done. I mean, obviously some of the offensive coordinators just have to be rounded out, but the head coaches seem to be pretty much more or less done. So I just want to round out quickly, guys. I mean, I'll give you guys my top 3, and you guys tell me if you like or not. As far as like a coaching staff, which one provides the best fantasy outlook from the cycle so far? I mean, I personally, right off the bat, this is going to sound maybe a little bit off, but I love the Titans, what they did entirely. Hired the head coach, hired defensive coordinator, the offensive coordinator, everything. Dable being able to focus only on offense, I think is great. He loved Cam at the pre-draft process. And I think things are going to be very interesting that he can just focus on, because Dable is a very good offensive mind. He just maybe wasn't a great head coach. So I think him having to only focus on the offense with the Titans, and you have Salah really focusing on the defense there as a head coach, I think is really going to open things up for Cam. I'm excited for that. I'm also kind of excited for Nagy to a degree. I know I just said like I'm lukewarm, but at the same time, like we did say from a fantasy perspective, it is interesting. And then Clint Kubiak in Las Vegas. You saw what he did with Darnold. He's electric offense. He hurt you on multiple levels. Curious to see how he uses Bowers, but I think there's a lot of fantasy value there too in that offense as well.
I think you're missing the best one on the list, really. Realistically, best fantasy-wise would be, in my eyes, the Buffalo Bills. Joe Brady.
Yeah, but that's a layup, Mac. That's a layup.
Yeah, but you're saying the best, right? What is the best fantasy options here? Man, Las Vegas. I don't know. I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced just yet. I got to see it happening. But with Clint Kubiak there, I think they have a better shot. I'm worried about Mendoza in the NFL. Rogers flipped me a bit.
Yeah, like it's funny you say that, and I've kind of flipped towards like I started following him on LinkedIn. I still find corny, like updating us on his partnerships and how he's open to work. I think it sounds like he's genuine. So whereas like Russ, it's like it feels forced, like the corniness. I think I agree with Fab on Kubiak. Ashton Genty is gonna kill it this year. The amount of outside zone that Kubiak ran with Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker III, they were third most in outside zone. And that is where Genty, with his cutback ability, is going to dominate next year. I think it's going to be a huge year for him. And I think they could utilize Brock Bowers too. Like, I don't see Kubiak's been at 6 different spots as either a passing game coordinator or an offensive coordinator. So I'm sure he's taken a lot of strategies and a lot of different schemes from different places. Don't think what he's running with Seattle is exactly the same as what he ran with, the Saints. Remember those first 2 Saints games where they were the best offense in the league, or the Niners or the Broncos, or, he had time with Cousins in Minnesota, who he's getting comped to Fernando Mendoza. So I really like the Kubiak hire for that.
Like from a football perspective or a fantasy or a personal profile perspective?
Both. They're both. I think Mendoza's cornier, but I've seen a lot of. I've seen. I mean, we'll jump into like the draft stuff in a few weeks, but I've seen Goff, I've seen Matt Ryan, and I've seen a little bit of Cousins as well.
Interesting.
I can see Matt Ryan. I can see Cousins. I can see that. But I'm also, for the record, I'm not in on Mendoza. Like for me, it's after 1 year I know he won every freaking award you can think of, but it's 1 year. Like we talk about how like these guys need reps, and this guy played like barely 30 games in college and started only 1 full season. I don't know. I'm
two. He started at Cal last year. He has
like 1.5. Like we barely played this his first year. I mean, let's just call a spade here. My hopes are not that high, but anyways. Well, so that's it. I mean, listen, that is the coaching carousel. That is the wonderfully exciting coaching cycle that is right now. I mean, at this point now, I think we're going to pass things on to Roger, who's going to talk about some fantasy tight end way too early 2026 ranks.
Yes, indeed. So if you didn't get a chance to check it out, we did the way too early QB running back, and wide receiver rankings in the 3 previous episodes. So we have those in YouTube, Spotify, Apple. And we also have some kind of snippets in social media. So this is the last set of these for the way too early tight end rank. So just 4 quick facts just before we delve into it. So we know Trey McBride, he had an amazing year. He was tight end 1. A lot of people don't realize he set the largest gap of any fantasy player this year. He had 105 points more than the second tight end, which was Kyle Pitts. That gap is the second highest in the last 10 years. Second highest of any fantasy position in the last 10 years. So we saw that there was a huge gap between that. From a positional value, from a tight end perspective, so I looked at it earlier in the year. McBride had an ADP of 27, so he was drafted pretty much in round 2. His 315 PPR points would have made him an RB6 or a WR4 in PPR. So we've talked about positional value from a tight end perspective previously. If you bet on Trey McBride this year, you actually made out, versus if you bet on Brock Bowers, who had an ADP of 19, that did not obviously pan out. He finished as tight end 11. His 174 points would have put him as an RB26 or a WR31. So obviously that was brutal. It was a lot of injuries. Geno Smith was not good as well. So it was kind of just good to kind of see the positional value from a tight end perspective this year. The 2 other points, rookie tight ends fared very well. Rookies Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland, Arondé Gadsden, Harold Fannin Jr. each had 1 or more tight end 1 weeks. And then finally, this was something that I saw from my rankings and from other rankings as well. But from my rankings perspective, the variance between how I ranked the tight ends in 2026 versus how they finished in 2025 was about 9 spots. And it was very similar to what I saw in other people's rankings as well. What it shows us, and you'll see there was a lot of injuries. There was a lot of guys who started out well, got injured, or other guys who kind of broke out, but maybe next year they're kind of one-hit wonders. So those are just a few stats that I thought were interesting from the tight end perspective in 2025 heading into 2026. So without further ado, our final edition of Way Too Early Rankings. So we will look at the tight ends, and obviously there's no surprise. Trey McBride is the number 1 undisputed tight end 1. I think between quarterback and tight end, those are kind of the only 2 positions where there was 100% undisputed 1 person. I don't think there's any doubt about it that it should be Trey McBride. I still went with Brock Bowers, number 2. He had a injury-riddled season, but he's still super talented, and we just talked about Clint Kubiak, how he can use him in a multitude of ways. And with Mendoza coming in, I think he has, as long as he's healthy, a bounce back season as tight end number 2. I put Colston Loveland number 3, and I'm not alone at this. I know Colston Loveland finished as tight end 12, but his late season surge was insane. He had 2 TDs in the last 4 games, but he had games of 6 for 94, 10 for 91, 8 for 137, and 4 for 56 in his last 4 games. And he looks like he's Caleb's favorite target. I personally think he's the most talented tight end of that group. So I had him at tight end 3. Any pushback from you guys on that one?
Not from especially what he did in the playoffs too. He looks like the best out of the class, right? I know that Tyler Warren, we see him a couple of spots down, but he seems to be, everyone made fun of the Bears for drafting him over Warren, and it looks like it's going to pay off big time.
Yeah,
big time. Yep.
Totally. At 4, I had Tucker Kraft. He was having a tight end 1 type of season until his season-ending ACL injury. Nak, I'm sure you recall the 7-catch, 140-yard, 2-touchdown game on, I believe it was a Thursday night game, and then he tore his ACL the week after. But I think he's Love's favorite target. I think he's due for a bounce back. At 5, I had Tyler Warren. He did look like the better of the rookie tight ends early on. He had 8 double-digit fantasy games in the year, but only 2 after week 9. He tailed off with Daniel Jones's injury, but I owned him in quite a few leagues. He was tailing off before Daniel Jones's injury, so it'll be curious to see how they use him. I know they used him as a runner a little bit. I think he threw a few passes, so I think they have to just keep him involved there. I have actually made a switch. So I have Kyle Pitts 6. I actually originally had Sam Laporta at 6, and that's why I had to pause. I had Kyle Pitts at 6 as, look, I had to give him his due. He was tight end 2. I couldn't put him lower than that, than 6 at some point, and that's why I made the switch. Potential free agency. So if you see a star on these players, they might be potential free agent. Yeah, go ahead, Fab.
No, just the only thing I'll say, Kyle Pitts, like I like the fact that he's getting his flowers a little bit over here, but 1/4 of his points they come from one game.
Yeah, exactly. I was just gonna say exactly the big 3 touchdown game against Tampa.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens at QB. Is he going to be with the Falcons? If he's with the Falcons, is it Kirk Cousins? Is it Michael Penix Jr.?
Yeah.
Stefanski, we know he's utilized tight ends before. He's done a very good job with David Njoku and another guy we'll talk about right after. At 7, I had Oronde Gadsden. I don't know about you guys, but the Mike McDaniel hire got me really juiced up about Oronde Gadsden. We saw how McDaniel used Jonnu Smith. We saw how he used Darren Waller. Like he took Darren Waller from the streets, and Darren Waller was a league winner for 2 weeks. Like it's madness.
No,
so he's a legit.
That's a great point.
He's a legit deep threat. He was really good as a rookie. Obviously, his success went down as the Chargers offensive line went down, and from what I gather, he had to stay on more as a blocker. Did Gadsden, so that kept his stats down. But I think he's gonna have a monster year with McDaniel. So at 8, the aforementioned Sam Laporta, back injury cut his season short. He's supposed to be healthy for 2026. I like him in the Drew Petzing heavy tight end, a lot of tight end usage. Petzing was the offensive coordinator in Arizona the 3 years where Trey McBride was there. So we know Trey McBride had some usage issues with Kyler Murray, but with Jacoby Brissett, McBride was a beast. So I think as long as Sam Laporta is healthy, I think he's gonna have a bounce back season. At 9, Harold Fannin Jr. So he looked very good all season. He took over for David Njoku really early on. He had 9 double-digit fantasy games, and he's in a very tight end friendly scheme with Todd Monken, who's going to be calling plays. And it looks like David Njoku will be a free agent. He'll go in as a free agent. He might not be back with the Browns. At 10, I had Dallas Goedert, 11 touchdowns, very reliable player. Let's see what happens with Sean Mannion and the new offensive coordinator. But he is a potential free agent, so let's see if he goes back there. I would love to see him back with Jalen Hurts in this offense, but we'll have to see what happens if he's still in Philly. Jake Ferguson, I'm curious what you think, Knack, about Jake Ferguson. I know you owned him in Bush League. It was somewhat of an inconsistent season. It started really hot. He had some really good games even when CeeDee Lamb was there, I believe, but once both CD and Pickens were back, it felt like he was kind of a bit of an afterthought.
He was a lot of he became pretty much a red zone target. He had a lot of games where it was like 2 catches, 12 yards, touchdown. They were targeting him a lot in the red zone. But going down the field, if you're at your own 20, like they're using Lamb, they're using Pickens, that like those are who Dak Prescott is targeting most often. So I think you have him ranked perfectly here, right outside the top 10. If one of them goes down, he shoots right up again. I know that Pickens, there's talk about getting the franchise tag, and then who knows where that ends up being. But yeah, I think it's safe to put him around there. I don't know if he's in the top 10 for me. And I know, look, tight end 4, but he had a lot of. He started really hot with a lot of. I think he had double-digit games in like 9 straight games.
The Jets game
out the year. Yeah, it was a huge. Yeah, he had a couple of. He had a few games where he had 2 TDs this year.
And hence the points about the variance, right? Like there's guys who, like, again, Ferguson, I had him ranked as tight end 11. A lot of consensus had him ranked in around the top 10, bottom 10, or outside the top 10. So, but he was tight end 4 because there was a lot of injuries at the position last year.
Yeah.
I have Travis Kelce at 12. I know he's 36 years old. I know there's some potential talk of retirement, but when I thought of him, I thought of Tony Gonzalez. Tony Gonzalez's last 2 years with the Falcons, age 35 and 36. Tony G was tight end 3 and tight end 8. Travis Kelce just came out of a tight end 3 season, despite all the talk about him, about all the fact that, he's done. There was definitely some bad games, but I think he's coming back personally. So I have a hard time putting him outside of the top 12. 13, I'm higher on George Kittle than consensus. There's been rumors that he's pushing to be ready for week 1, which would put him at about 8 to 9 months out of the injury. Look, we love George Kittle. He's very injury prone though, but if he is healthy, he's still one of the top 3 to 5 tight ends in the league, and he had an impact when he was playing. Juwan Johnson, very solid season. He had 6 games over 60-yard receiving. Likely no Taysom Hill, either through retirement or just for the fact that he's a free agent. And I know how much we like Tyler Shuck. So it was an easy one to put Juwan Johnson at 14. And then we get to now some of the more streamer type tight ends. Brenton Strange, I think we all probably expected more out of him this year. When I went through his game log, it was quite sputtered. Some 5 for 23, 5 for 40 games. I think just the fact that Parker Washington came on and the fact that they ended up acquiring Jacoby Myers, they all kind of do the same thing, short, intermediate. And I think that took a lot of his impact away. So we'll see what happens next year. But I think that's going to be one of the better offenses next year. I know, Fab, you're always very bullish on the Jags and Trevor Lawrence. 16, Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry, I named him the Jameson Williams of tight ends. So he had one 30-point game.
That's a good comparison.
1 30-point game, 1 25-point game. And in total, 9 double-digit games. But then he had 5 games under 4 points. Like, he was very hard to trust last year. It was a crazy swing. I personally expect even more out of Boutte next year and Kyle Williams. And I think Stephon Diggs will obviously be back. So he deserves to be there just because he still was tight end 9 and he had some big games. And then quickly, 17, I have Dalton Schultz, super consistent. After week 4, 9 out of his next 15 games, he had double-digit fantasy games. I have Jake Tonjes at 18. He had games where he was a tight end 3, tight end 7, tight end 9, and tight end 12 in relief of Kittle. And if Kittle is out for a bit of time, I think Tonjes is a very solid play as a streamer tight end. Mark Andrews at 19. I'm curious what happens with him. Last 7 games of the season, all 7 games were under 5 fantasy points. They signed him to an extension December 3rd, 2025 to 3 years,
that was
$40
so
million.
Strange.
Makes no sense. And I didn't rank Isaiah Likely, as you'll see, because he's going to be a free agent. Yeah. I don't know what's going to happen with Mark Andrews. That's going to be really interesting to see. At number 20, I put Kenyon Sadiq. So if you don't know who Kenyon Sadiq is, he is a tight end out of Oregon, monster athletically, 6'3", 245. He looks like a mix of Vernon Davis and Shannon Sharp. A lot of mock drafts, I see him have him going in the first round. I've seen 7 mocks with him in Carolina. I've seen some mocks with him in Philadelphia, San Francisco, KC. The Dolphins would be interesting, and even the Broncos would be interesting as well. So we'll see what happens there. At 22, I had AJ Barner. Surprisingly, solid season at tight end 14. He was a big benefactor in the red zone, but also he was their tush push guy. And so he'll be interesting to see if he has even a factor this weekend in the Super Bowl. Terrence Ferguson at tight end 23 with the Rams. So he is paired with Colby Parkinson. He looked quite good in some of the games. He is a sophomore player. He finished as tight end 52, but let's see what happens with him and Parkinson. But a lot of very athletically and gifted player. At 24, I have Pat Freiermuth. So let's see what happens with Mike McCarthy, maybe more of a tight end friendly system. I think as long as Freiermuth is out of the Arthur Smith fiasco, who, he just, everyone's on a timeshare with Arthur Smith, it seems. Freiermuth, I think you would agree, Nak, he should have played most of the games. Jonnu Smith, we both agreed, was terrible last year.
Terrible. Even Freiermuth said it. He's like, I was a team player. I did what they told me, but he's like, I want more of the ball, and him too. He was another guy that they signed to a good extension, a nice big money extension, and then didn't use him. It was just so strange.
Yeah. Lest we forget, Freiermuth has had seasons where I think he was like the tight end 6 or 7. So he's
an animal with when he gets the ball.
I think people have this misnomer that the Pittsburgh tight ends like Heath Miller, they're like blocking tight ends, but he is a good blocker, but he's also a very good pass catcher as well. And then to round it out, at 25, we have Mason Taylor. He showed a lot of promise last year. He finished tight end 25, showed quite a few good games last year. Let's see what happens with the Jets quarterback situation. At tight end 27, I have TJ Hawkinson. Look, he's been battling injuries for the past 2 years. He's a potential free agent. I kind of put him there in case maybe he goes back to Minnesota. Maybe there's an improvement at the quarterback position because JJ McCarthy doesn't seem settled there 100%. But at this stage, that's very low ranking. As you guys know, I cannot quit Chiga Kwonkwo. And I put him there with Gunnar Helm as well. Kwonkwo he's set to be a free agent. He actually had 56 catches, I think about almost 600 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he was quite a decent player. He was probably the most reliable pass catcher for Cam Ward. If he doesn't stay with the Titans, Gunnar Helm could be an interesting option there. And then to round it out, David Njoku. We know Njoku has been the top 10 tight end in the past, but he's a potential free agent. Very curious to see where he goes. It's kind of too early to lean where he might go, but that kind of rounds it out since Harold Fannin is very settled with the Browns. Any thoughts on the tight end rankings, gentlemen?
Where's Dalton Kincaid?
Yeah, that's a miss on me. Yeah, Kincaid probably would have.
That's okay. That's okay.
No, yeah, you're right. Kincaid probably definitely could have been slotted. Probably around
like Jake Ferguson is. Ferguson to go there.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Yeah,
that's a good call. My reasoning for I probably just missed him in general, but he's just always injured. He shares a lot of time with Dawson.
He is. Yeah,
they played 3 tight end sets, but that's definitely one that I would have considered as well.
But he when he does play and when he is not injured and he's on the field, he is the number one option for
100%
for that offense. Yeah,
100%.
But I agree though, like it's he's definitely an afterthought when he's never on the field. How can you figure out to rank him when he's never there? So
for sure. And those are any other thoughts, guys? Sorry.
I think Mark Andrews is too high.
As I'm talking through it, yes. As I talk through it, yes. And I think I forgot to mention Theo Johnson at 21.
Yeah.
So you finished.
I think you thought there was enough Giants talk on the show. I think you did it on purpose to not add any more Giants talk. I was going to thank you at the end of the show, but you remember
New York
now.
Football Giants.
Theo Johnson had some flashes. The issue with him is drops. The big issue with him is drops. But look, guys, quite frankly, I would say depending on what your cutoff is, for me after 17, it's all streamers. And even if you want to make a case that 100%. It's like Brenton Strange from 15 on down, it's all streamers. Everyone else before that, depending on what happens with George Kittle, obviously those are guys who you could pretty much lock in on a week to week basis. My final thought on these rankings, I cannot say enough of how excited I will be for Rondé Gatson if stays healthy, if he's going to be a focal point of the offense. I think the pairing with Mike McDaniel is outstanding and has a lot of potential for next year.
Yep.
And that'll do it for the way too early tight end rankings. Fab, Nak, you want to take us through the Super Bowl preview? So we're going to preview the Super Bowl through prop bets, which will be very, very interesting.
Yes, as we all know, Super Bowl 60 is a few days away, so we thought we would have some props available for you for the big game. We all know how over billions of dollars get bet on Super Bowl Sunday each year. So if you were going to partake in that party, we have a few prop bets for you. I'll start with New England Patriots prop bets. I really like the Patriots plus 3.5 on the first half, which is paying minus 110. They are either leading or keeping it very close in the playoffs this year. So I definitely like them to keep it close. I feel like these teams are, usually the first half of these Super Bowls, sometimes, unless you're really running away with it, they're kind of like feeling each other out, or there's a bunch of chess plays that happen. So I definitely don't see a blowout like we had last year in the first half, where the game was almost just about over. So I definitely like that. That's a really good play for me. Next one, I have Ramondre Stevenson, 40 plus reception yards, plus 320. So he did have a slow start. Had a couple games where in the playoffs where he was 10 yards or under, but he did have that one game against the Chargers where he went 3 catches for 75 yards. I think this is a good spot for Ramondre Stevenson. I think he's going to see a lot of 2-minute offenses. He might have to I do see the Seahawks potentially leading at some point late in the game, and he's going to get a couple dump off passes. I know that pass rush is super nasty, so by extension, might get a couple of extra balls thrown his way. So I definitely love that play. And then I have Drake May. This is my lock of the week is Drake May 40 plus rushing yards at plus 100. So paying 2-1 on 40 plus rushing yards. He is averaging 47 a game in the playoffs. He had that one game. What was before against the Texans? Against the Texans, he didn't run for much. I think it was like 10 yards or something. But against the Chargers, he ran for 60 plus.
Yeah.
And against Denver, he ran for 60 plus. So if you're feeling adventurous and you want to go for that 60 plus, that one's paying 320. But 40 plus, give me that on 2-1 all day long. I'm taking that and riding it for sure. What do you guys think of these?
I'm assuming you're thinking he's going to be the MVP then. Or I guess we'll talk about that for our picks later.
Why? Because he's rushing the ball?
You think it's 60 yards, man? If he's going to get 60 yards, like against that that Seattle defense?
Oh, look at when he had those 60 yards. Look at what his receivers did.
Yeah, it's true.
His receivers didn't do very much, right?
He had a very good rushing game against Denver. I think, exactly to next point.
Yeah, and he threw for 80 yards.
Exactly. If he can't connect with his receivers, he's going to be rushing.
Yeah, I like those. I like those. And to your point, it's the Super Bowl is, I guess, except for last year, it's definitely like a feeler out. We've seen it in various. I feel like every Super Bowl that the Patriots are in, it's a feeling out process in that half, and then the game gets going in the second half. So
and who's their head coach? Vrabel, who's been there in those games before.
Totally.
So I don't expect that to change.
Totally.
Fab, what do you have on your end for your prop bets?
Well, just quickly, fun fact about Vrabel: if he does win as a head coach, he'll be the first player in history, individual in history, to win as a coach and a player on the same team.
That's amazing.
That's very honestly
story.
Yeah, really nice story. Speaking of nice stories, Jackson Smith-Njigba over half a rushing yard, paying plus 300.
Mm-hmm.
Now he hasn't rushed in about 5 games, but he has been known to rush the ball in this offense every now and then. And I feel like come Super Bowl, they got to use a little bit of trickery. Maybe McDonald's been holding the sleeve now. It's gonna there it is, and there's Jackson Smith-Njigba for like a nice little 7-yard run for a first down.
You can see this one for sure.
Yeah,
for
you can
4-1 for a yard.
Yeah, you can see it.
Yeah,
So,
that's a nice one.
Sam Darnold plus 120 to win Super Bowl MVP. This is a very much of a safer one. The line even moved from 130 down to 120, so kind of tells you that the odds are very, very much favorable. That not only did the Seahawks win the Super Bowl, but then 8 out of the last 12. I think it is 8 out of the last 12 players have been quarterbacks to be Super Bowl MVP. So Sam Darnold, nice redemption arc. After being a castaway all this time, and even a castaway from the Vikings, and clearly they need a quarterback right now, and he brings the team to Super Bowl and he wins the MVP. Very, very, very nice, nice story. And
another hell of a
story. First touchdown. Yeah, and first touchdown score for Kenneth Walker III plus 320. He scored the first touchdown last week. Sorry, not last week, 2 weeks ago, versus the Rams. With Charbonnet not there anymore, he is the guy. You kind of figure that in the red zone, he's the guy too. So I think this is a very, very nice, cute little prop bet here, playing plus 320 for first touchdown score for Kenneth Walker III.
Love it. You guys brought them. I really like a lot. Like the Drake May rushing one is easy money, and I think the Jackson Smith-Njigba one. I feel like teams reserve their best for the last game. So if we haven't seen it, we haven't. Yeah, you definitely. We could definitely see those ones happening. Yeah. I will round it off with some more, I guess not necessarily team specific, but more situation specific. So these are a few that I always bet on, but over 2.5 players to record a pass attempt. You could pair that up with non-QB to throw a pass attempt.
140.
So over 2.5 players for the pass attempt is plus 140. Non-QB to throw a pass attempt is plus 225.
That's nice.
We all recall Julian Edelman, the Super Bowl against the Eagles. Josh McDaniels was the offense coordinator back then. He threw a pass to Tom Brady. Would not be surprised if that's something that they pull out again. And our friend F. Ton Chisholm, our friend Efton Chisholm, he also threw a pass, I believe, during the pass.
Efton Chisholm. Shout out Efton Chisholm.
Yes.
I have another one for you. Is apparently Cooper Kupp in his interview hinted that he might throw a pass on Super Bowl. So this 2.5, over 2.5, and a non-QB to throw. I know how you love those, Raj, every year, and I think I'm bandwagoning with you this year.
I got it last year. Was it last year or the year before? I think it was the year with Xavier Worthy or McCole Hardman. I got one of them like last year.
It was 2 years ago.
It was 2 years ago, yeah.
2 years ago.
Moving on. So this is an interesting one. Any player to record 205 rushing yards pays plus 10,000. So hear me out. If there's any chance this could happen, it's with these two game-breaking running backs. It's with Travion Henderson or Kenneth Walker the third. So I listened to something on the Bill Simmons podcast a few days ago. So apparently Travion Henderson against two high safety looks, which is what the defense at Seattle plays the most. He has 68 carries for 319 yards and 2 touchdowns. Henderson also has longs of 69 yards, and even Kenneth Walker III has longs of 55 yards. He's done that twice. So if you're going to swing for the fences plus 10,000, you might as well put a bit of money on that. You never know. And at that point, you might as well put MVP for either Travion Henderson or Kenneth Walker III, because with these defenses, it might be the running backs who end up being MVP. I'm just saying. I'm just
worried. I'm just worried in that side when you're going Travion Henderson. He had 3 carries in the AFC Championship game to Ramondre Stevenson's 25.
He's saving it back pocket.
Yeah, I guess. But I mean, the AFC Championship, like, what are you saving it for, right? Like,
back pocket to soon be in the front pocket.
I definitely love that plus 10,000, but these are very good defenses.
Yeah, it could be Kenneth Walker III as well. He's the only guy there.
Also a $5 on it. Why not?
Yeah, exactly. These are things. I mean, guys, these are
what's the worst that can happen? You lose $5.
Exactly. And then another favorite of mine, a safety to be recorded in the game is at plus 800. So the last Super Bowl safety was about 11 years ago. Do you guys remember who it was?
11 years ago.
Or 12 years ago. I guess it was 2014. It was Seattle,
Panthers?
the Seattle defense against Peyton Manning. So there was the Seahawks forced a bad snap to Peyton Manning, which was recovered in the end zone. So I could see a scenario 100% where the Seahawks defense does that again. Apparently Drake May has maybe a bum shoulder, so we'll see. This is one I bet on every year because there was a point where there was 3 safeties in the Super Bowl in a row. So I really like that one. And you know what? Pick 6 in the game. Why not? Plus 550, just in case Sam Darnold turns into a lemon again. Why not?
In case he sees ghosts.
In case he sees ghosts again.
In case the ghosts are back.
I said ghosts.
I think the ghosts are gone. I think the ghosts are gone.
I think the ghosts are gone too, man. I really do.
We will end it off with our picks versus the spread. So the spread today is minus 4.5 for the Seahawks. Fab, what do you got?
I like the Pats. I like the Pats to beat the spread, but I do like the Seahawks to win outright. But I like the Pats to beat the spread.
Okay, so Pats plus 4.5. Raj?
Yep.
I like Seahawks minus 4.5. I think they're just too dominant.
As do I. I think the Pats keep it close, but I think that interception or that turnover for a touchdown you're talking about happens to the Patriots towards the end of the game, fourth quarter. Maybe they're up by 3 and they go up by 10 and they end up winning by probably 10 points. I know some people are saying that it's going to be over in the first quarter and they're going to get dominated and they're going to get destroyed. I can't see that happening. But I think the Seahawks are just the better team overall. And I don't know, if they run the ball and they let Sam Darnold, do his thing when he needs to, I think they do come out on top as well.
Yeah. Agreed, Nick.
That'll do it, guys, for another edition of the Bush League Huddle Fantasy Football Podcast. Please be sure, like always, to follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. Enjoy the big game on Sunday, everyone. Place your bets. Let us know. Ask us questions if you're looking for any advice. But enjoy the game, and we will be back for a next week.
Maybe.
Watch the music.
We'll see.
We'll definitely be back. Will we be back next week?
We're gonna be back.
Maybe not.
We'll be back. I promise.
We'll always be back.
We'll always be
We'll
back.
always be back.
Forever.
We're gonna
We're
always be
here
back.
forever.
I'll be there. I promise.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Peace out.
Goodbye.